Niter Hall was the home of the powder master who ran the Niter Hall Powder Works. I'm Richard Kerr. I'm a board member with the Historical Society. I'm also the Society's historical researcher. In about 1800 to 1810, this section of the valley along Cobb's Creek was bought to become a gunpowder producing area for the new nation. Niter is an old name for an ingredient used in the making of gunpowder. So this was a dangerous place, and while this was the house of a very prosperous man, it was also a working headquarters for an industrial operation. Eventually, the small mills in America found themselves out of favor. They weren't economical and profitable anymore because steam power was developed and electric motors eventually. You didn't have to be along have a water wheel anymore. So this area fell into disuse at that point. And this building, Niter Hall, the home of the powder master at one time, simply became a home back in a very quiet backwater of Haverford Township.
My name is Irene Coffey, and I am the president of the Haverford Township Historical Society. I am primarily involved with the collections of the society, and our mission is to protect, preserve, and promote the history of Haverford Township, and the collections are one of the ways that we support that aim. We have a substantial number of quilts in our collection and clothing items. We also have material objects such as farm implements, old kitchen utensils. We have a number of letters, diaries, deeds, maps, atlases. You can see what the area looked like where your house is. And in addition, we have things like a Civil War diary of a Union soldier. We have thousands of photographs in the collection. One of the significant collections that we have is what we call the Wilbur Hall collection. Wilbur Hall took photographs from the period between about 1890 and 1920. He was interested in transportation, especially in trolleys and trains, but his collection also includes a number of people and scenery type photographs. And actually originally they're glass negatives, and we've reprinted them so that we have both the glass negatives and the print reproduction from it. Many of our photographs are viewable online through our website, so you can see what Haverford Township used to look like or what people used to look like. In addition, we have the library collection that's here behind me. That numbers over 500 books, and the subject area that we cover includes obviously things like the history of Haverford Township and neighboring communities, the Welsh Quakers, who were the early settlers here, life in the 18th and 19th century. We have a number of school books on both the elementary and the secondary level, and the subject matter for that would be literature, language arts, math, geography, recitations. Public speaking apparently was a big topic in the 1800s, so we have a number of books like that. We have some family Bibles. The oldest book that we have in the collection dates from 1753, and it's titled A Collection of the Sufferings of the People Called Quakers. So that's one of our treasures. In addition, we have the furniture and the decorative objects that are in our buildings. Those are primarily period appropriate, but they're not necessarily original to the properties. And we use the collections to stage exhibits throughout the year. We usually change them on a yearly basis. We also publish a newsletter a couple of times a year in which we try to have at least an article or two that talks about something of historic interest in the township. And we have programs that we sponsor a couple of times a year. And then in addition, obviously, we have the Heritage Festival and the Oktoberfest that most people know about.
Barrett's cabin, which is now next door to Niter Hall, is the oldest freestanding domestic building or house in Haverford Township. It dates back to the first decades of the colonialization and actually the settling of Haverford Township in the 1680s by Welsh Quakers. In 1707, Thomas Lawrence bought 185 acres along Darby Creek in the brand new Haverford Township that William Penn had established. And in 1709, his brother Henry purchased another 209 acres. So they owned a lot of land in southern Haverford Township along Darby Creek. The cabin is sort of a mystery. It has traits of Swedish construction, Finnish construction, Welsh and English construction.
Federal School was built in 1797, so as of now it's 218 years old, so it's a very old building. It was the first building built in the entire township just to be used for education. Well, my name is Amy Wolfe. I'm the Education Director for the Haverford Township Historical Society. I'm also the Treasurer of the Historical Society. And I've been running the Colonial Living and Federal School programs for 11 years now. I'm responsible for running the two programs that we have each year. One is a fall program, one is a spring program. The fall program is called Colonial Living, and that program involves all of the public school 5th grade students in the township. They come to Niter Hall and Lawrence Cabin and spend the day doing chores and activities that children did in either the early 18th century or the 19th century, depending on what site they're assigned to. The federal school program is in the spring, and that's held at the federal school, which is on Darby Road, and that's a one-room schoolhouse experience. What we do there is we interpret a school day in 1849. We have a spelling bee. We read from McGuffey's Readers. We use quill or nib pens, which are like quill pens. We play with 19th century toys at recess. We have 19th century rules. So it's very different. Way to maintain a building and to make sure that it doesn't fall down from neglect or, just sort of disappear into history is to use it. So the federal school was a school for about 70 years. Then it became a private home, and then it became a storage shed actually on the Allgates estate. And then around the time of the bicentennial, it was restored for use as an historic site.
So my name is Sarah Chaga. I teach 11th and 12th grade English at Haverford High School now, and I went all the way through Haverford Township School District from kindergarten through 12th grade, and I attended the Colonial Living program when I was in 5th grade, I suppose, at that point. So that would be about 20 years ago. So that does age me a little bit, but not too drastically. I absolutely loved the program. I remember loving the program then, and I remember it vividly now. And it's interesting, we were talking about this, I really enjoyed the federal schoolhouse the most because I knew when I was that little that I wanted to be a teacher. And just seeing what it was like at that time was a great experience for me. I was always interested in history as well. Even though I'm an English teacher, I'm also certified in history. So I think from that age, it was sort of nurtured in me. My parents always took me to Colonial Williamsburg, and this was just something at home that I could really involve myself in, and it was a great experience. So I remember it fondly, and I think it's something that's really important for children in this area to see that history is a part of everything, a part of where you live, a part of the broader area that we live in Philadelphia, and it's just a great thing for them to do.
My name is Elyse Barrett. I teach 10th grade English at Haverford High School, and I also went through the school here, so Chatham Park to the middle school to the high school, and I too have very vivid memories of the program. Especially, again, just like Sarah Chaga said, the schoolhouse was my favorite part, and the part that I think I remember, the reason I remember it so clearly is because I really remember picking out my costume with my mom. So we, instead of being costumes like you are at Niter Hall, you had to come to the schoolhouse, or you could come to the schoolhouse in the garb that they might wear. I thought it was so much fun to dress up and kind of be someone different for the day, and follow a school day that would have been typical then. I also really remember the dunce cap, and I don't remember who got the dunce cap, but I remember it being so funny. I think another reason that year was so special for me, 4th grade, was because my elementary school teacher, Miss Ritchie, it was her last year. So at the end of the year, she made us all picture frames with different pictures of us, and that was the biggest picture, was like our group picture at the federal schoolhouse. So I think that made it a lot more special too, because I have had this picture ever since then. So yeah, just a really cool experience. I think that there are so many field trips that we go on through Haverford School District, but this was one where we actually were hands-on and actually experiencing things in our own township, which is so cool that we pass it every day and we actually got to experience it.
My name is Jenna Miele, and I am currently a incoming senior at Haverford High School, and I attended Linwood Elementary School, so I went through the Colonial Living and the Federal School program, and honestly one of the best, I guess, field trips of like ever in school. I was in Lawrence Cabin. It was this quaint little like one-room cabin, and I was wearing a long skirt, and I was with my friends, and we were like cooking over a fire. I was like, I've never done this before, this is so cool. And when they told me that this is how people lived, I was like, no way, like they didn't have TVs, like that's not, History has always been like something in the back of my mind that I always loved. To me, the meaning of it has changed. I respect it more and I admire it more because being a kid of this generation, nothing is like simple anymore. It's all, you know, technology and quick, everything's quick. We went to the federal school and I was like blown away once again because of how different it was from the school that I go to. And I still have it right here, the booklet that they gave us that we could write in with the, I think they call it a nib pen. It's like kind of like a quill pen, but like has like my disgusting handwriting in it. Because I was just learning how to do cursive at that point. And I have it, clearly. I still admire how different everything was and how they went about their business, and comparing and contrasting the two worlds is probably my favorite part about history, because it's like you can compare one thing and how they did it back then versus how they did it now, or how we came about doing that. And I think that's like one of the coolest parts about history is how we've evolved. I think sending the young kids to Lawrence Cabin, Nighter Hall, and Federal School is very important for them to see how different life is and how they could be living if it wasn't 2015. So for me, that was a really cool experience and always going to remember that.
Now don't be concerned about dropping it. I found it's quite magical. It's going to stick to your fingers. Good. Now.
Go back and back to back. Turn to your neighbor. Shoulder. There's something, Steve. And back to back.